Ted Bundy is one of the most infamous serial killers in modern history, captivating the public imagination with his charm, intelligence, and brutal crimes. In this comprehensive essay, we'll delve into Ted Bundy's life, exploring his early years, his modus operandi, the timeline of his crimes, his capture and trials, and the lasting impact of his legacy on society. Early life and background. Theodore Robert Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, to Eleanor Louise Powell, who was unmarried at the time of his birth. Bundy's early childhood was marked by instability and uncertainty regarding his paternity. He was raised to believe that his grandparents were his parents and his mother was his sister. Bundy's childhood appeared relatively normal on the surface, but there were signs of trouble beneath. He showed a fascination with knives and violence from a young age. Despite this, he was described as intelligent and well-behaved by those who knew him. Education and early adulthood. Bundy's academic achievements earned him scholarships, and he attended the University of Puget Sound and later transferred to the University of Washington. It was during his time in college that Bundy's darker side began to emerge. He was socially awkward and struggled with relationships, leading to feelings of inadequacy and resentment. In the early 1970s, Bundy became involved in politics and volunteered for a local Republican Party office. He also worked for a crisis hotline, where he honed his skills of manipulation and deception. However, beneath his outwardly charming facade, Bundy's violent tendencies were simmering. Modus operandi and crimes. Bundy's crimes typically followed a pattern. He would approach his victims in public places, often posing as an authority figure or using a ruse to gain their trust. Once he had lured them to a secluded location, he would overpower and assault them, often bludgeoning or strangling them to death. Bundy's victims were predominantly young women, many of whom bore a striking resemblance to one another. His killing spree spanned several states, including Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. Bundy's ability to evade capture for so long was due in part to his transient lifestyle and his skill at eluding law enforcement. Capture and trials. Bundy's luck began to run out in 1975 when he was arrested in Utah for suspicion of burglary. Despite initially being released on bail, Bundy was later linked to several murders through physical evidence and witness testimony. In 1977, he was convicted of kidnapping and assault in Utah and sentenced to prison. While awaiting trial in Colorado for additional charges, Bundy managed to escape from custody not once, but twice. During his second escape in 1978, Bundy made his way to Florida, where he resumed his killing spree with horrifying efficiency. Bundy's final capture came in February 1978 after a routine traffic stop led to the discovery of incriminating evidence in his vehicle. He was subsequently charged with multiple counts of murder and brought to trial in Florida. The trials that followed were sensational, drawing intense media coverage and public interest. Bundy, acting as his own attorney, manipulated the courtroom proceedings to his advantage, prolonging the trial and attracting attention to himself. Despite his efforts, Bundy was ultimately convicted and sentenced to death. Legacy and impact. Ted Bundy's crimes left a deep scar on the collective consciousness of society. His case raised questions about the nature of evil, the psychology of serial killers, and the failings of the criminal justice system. Bundy's ability to blend in with mainstream society and deceive those around him served as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk beneath the surface. In the years since Bundy's execution in 1989, his story has been the subject of numerous books, documentaries, and films. Interest in Bundy and his crimes remains high, with new generations continuing to be fascinated by the enigmatic killer. However, it's essential to remember that Bundy's victims were real people whose lives were cut short by his senseless acts of violence. Their stories deserve to be told and remembered, even as we grapple with the complexities of Ted Bundy's twisted legacy.